Sam here, and I'll be doing the premium video for Friday, October 3rd, 2025. So we're going to be doing the top-down market review for the week here, and I'd like for you to stick around to the end because we're going to be talking about one stock that came up not just today, but in yesterday's session that we actually traded, that I'm actually looking to trade more of going into November. So we'll talk about that one closer to the middle to the end of the video. So let's dive in where we normally start, which is going to be the indexes first. We'll start with SPY and hold on to your collective hats, but the SPY is still in a bull market, and as we speak, we're trading pretty much at all-time highs. Another bullish candle here. Now, the day is young, right? We still have about 3 hours to go before the close, so anything goes. But assuming the candle closes exactly here, then it will have closed the week with a higher high, a higher low, and a higher close than the previous candle. So all of that's pretty strong. I did go ahead and run a retracement here. I think this is a retracement that everyone should have on SPY or pretty much on any stock, is to have the tantrum tariff tantrum high to the post tantrum low. So you measure that out and it'll give you some retracements, the first of which was 649, which is right there, and then the second one would be the 618 target, which, you know, it definitely could go up there and reach, and that's going to be 694. So that's kind of a natural place to look for continuation move. Now, here's the only problem that I have, and I suppose it's a good problem to have, and that is that the chart looks perfect, right? I don't think I have to tell you that. Like, you can see you got a buy signal back here. It feels like a million years ago, but that was only a couple months ago. And from there, you have gotten absolutely no sell signal ever for months. This is legendary stuff, guys. I really cannot stress enough how unusual this is and how rare it is. And the reason being is because this is an oscillator. What I'm pointing to, this is an oscillator. Oscillators will have this movement to them. They kind of look like a sine wave. That's just the way they move. As we go along, you'll see other charts that will have this nature to them. For an oscillator to not oscillate, right, for it to not pull back and just stay pinned to the top and never give a sell signal, even through here or here or here or here or here, is legendary stuff. So you theoretically could trade pretty much the rest of your life and not see a signal this intense. So let's just take a moment to appreciate that. At this point, though, I mean, everything is extreme, right? Now, that unto itself is not a problem, but it's one of those things where it's a spinning top. Spinning top is very stable until it starts to wobble, and then the moment that it wobbles, you don't actually have to wait for it to fall. It's lost momentum, so then it just wobbles and falls. So there's really only one way to kind of keep this going, and that is to keep it going, right? I don't think that the index here can really handle too much of a pullback because you know, everything here is extreme at this point, which is a first. This is the first time that we've had extremes on all four indicators on both time frames, the weekly and the daily. So pretty impressive stuff. But aside from that, there's really not a lot to cover here. I mean, we're trading at all-time highs. There's nothing bearish about all-time highs, is what I was led to believe. And you still have a little bit of room here into this upper 618 target up there at 694 on SPY. So I don't really see any issues until you start to break below weekly lows, right? If you take out next week, if you take out the weekly low, that might be a problem. But at least for now, there's really no issues at all, or even really nuance to speak of. It's just uncut bull market. Let's go to the Qs. So the Qs, same thing, pretty strong, pretty strong. And the reason we spend so much time on SPY is just so that we can just kind of breeze through the rest of this stuff, because the Qs is just basically the same thing as SPY, maybe a little bit stronger in the short term, but basically the same thing. The only difference that I see here is that this one's gone extreme plus, meaning that the red line has actually gotten to the very top. The last time that the red line got to the very top was right here, right before the tantrum. So although I see no issues here, there's going to be a chart coming up here in just a bit that I'm going to show you that is leading a potential major signal that I don't think many people see, and that's shaping up for like the middle of the month, probably actually closer to like Halloween. So before I show you that signal, I'd like for you to drop us a like on the video, drop us a comment. It really does help us. The comments actually help us more than the likes. If you can click twice, it would help us the most. Click like on the like and drop us a comment. If you have nothing, no questions to ask, then just let us know what your favorite beverage is or your favorite color, and the YouTube algorithm will bless the video. So I would appreciate it. But let's continue here. So no issues here on the Qs as well. The only issue is that it looks too good. But that might be a good problem to have, right? So the IWM is the leader of the day, and another short squeeze kind of day going on, and all-time high here as well. Everything's completely good, no major issues to speak of, no sell signals to speak of. Everything looks great, so I don't see any issues there whatsoever. So let's continue, and next up we'll do, just for kicks, let's do the dollar. Because the dollar going lower or staying down here will generally be helpful for stocks. And there's no changes here on the dollar at all. It is getting extremely compressed. You have a high compression weekly squeeze. This is kind of setting up for that October surprise later in the month, closer to Halloween. This isn't the chart that I wanted to show you, but it does kind of work in line with that for now. And what I'm looking at here, although the dollar hasn't done anything, is I'm looking right here and right here, and you have a very large weekly squeeze with kind of a basing pattern. So, if the dollar catches a bid, does that then, create an impetus for the next signal? So let me tease you just one more chart, and then I'll show you the signal. So let's look at HYG. And again, we always look at HYG as a proxy for risk. So as long as this chart looks good and has the potential to go higher, then all is well in the world. And I don't see any issues here. There's not going to be any issues, in my opinion, until it gets below $80.40. So basically anything that it's doing up here is, not all that meaningful. The one thing I would say is that you do actually have some thrust lower signals, which is new. So this is starting to maybe take a little bit of damage. And it's not as clean as it's been for the last couple of weeks, but there's actually no major issues here. So do the bulls have as much control of this chart as they've had before? Not as much. So this is a slight, and really it's not even a negative against the bulls, it's just the positive is not as positive as it was. So everything that we're seeing here so far bodes well for the bulls. Let me show you the chart though that I'm looking for the potential October surprise here. And so we've talked about this one a few times in the Friday videos, but I'm not going to be with you next week. So I do want to have you be very aware of this. So why am I saying a potential October surprise closer to Halloween? A little bit of a spooky season surprise. Here's why. Let's start by just keeping things really simple here. With the VIX, you don't want to do a lot of TA on the VIX because it's a mean reverting product. So if you have trending indicators, they're really not going to work well. If you have most indicators are just not going to work well with the VIX, but there are a couple things that I do look for, and that is major pattern changes in the cloud as well as the squeeze histogram. So I'm going to show you two things here that are setting up for the Spooktober surprise. The first of which, what color is the cloud here and here and here and there and there and there? The cloud is red, right? You had a pretty big thrust up here, but it happened in the context of a red cloud. What's different now? The cloud is green. Okay, so that's kind of a big deal in my opinion. The cloud is now green. This is the first time that you've gotten a positive crossover in this indicator with a green cloud. Back here you had a positive crossover that was immediately wiped out, but it happened with a red cloud. So notice the difference here. This signal is more aligned than this one. Okay, these are pretty minor things, right? At the end of the day, the VIX is really doing nothing, not all that helpful. Let me show you kind of the timing signal that I'm looking for, and this is going to be based off the squeeze histogram on the weekly charts. So on the squeeze histogram on the weekly charts, this is an example of one that's already happened, right? Like that's a completed squeeze build up and fire, right? You can see the squeeze histogram is going yellow, 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 yellow. It goes flat. It starts to go positive, right? The bars, the squeeze histogram bars go positive. Nothing really major happens, and then kaboom, it goes right to 60. Okay, so that's the template that we have to work with. Does the past repeat? Probably not, but it does tend to rhyme. So that's the template that we have to work with. Here's the moment in time that we're in. Does this look like it's ready to you based on the historical precedent? I would say probably not, right? I would say that that probably is not ready. So if we go back here and we ask ourselves, okay, that's a completed cycle. Where are we in the cycle, right? Pretend that you're at the mall and you go to the map and it says you are here. Where are we in the cycle? I would say that right now in the cycle, we're probably about right here, right? Because the squeeze histogram is still yellow. It's trending towards zero, but it's not there yet. Maybe about 2 weeks more and it should be at zero, right? And then that sets up this move here, which, you know, obviously will come as a surprise to most people when it happens. So the timing signal is pretty much based on this. Just whenever the squeeze histogram on the VIX, the weekly squeeze histogram goes flat, I would then start to be a little bit more cautious, right? For now, it feels like things are extended. It feels like it's too bullish, but frankly, all of this can just be completely continued until the squeeze histogram on the weekly VIX is basically neutral. So that's the timing signal that I'm looking for. I'll continue to look for it, but there are already early signs, one of which is the cloud going green after an extended amount of time being deep red, and of course the signal that we just looked at there. So everything looks great. I've been kind of a broken record. Everything looks great. Everything is bullish. No reason to be bearish quite just yet. Once the squeeze histogram, maybe after I come back from my time off, in 2 weeks or so, we'll look at this again and see what the squeeze histogram looks like on the VIX. But assuming it looks closer to neutral, that's when then I would start to be a little bit more cautious, start moving up stops, etc., start looking for a character change other than just market go up every day. So I did promise you that I would show you one of the better stocks that I found today, and we traded this one yesterday, got out, took profits today, but I am looking to build a bigger position in this for the November series, and it does require holding through the November series. So if you're not wanting to do that, then I probably would skip this one. And also, as I show you this, try to get a better price, right? Because today it's up quite a bit. We got a really good entry in it yesterday. We took off the short-term trade today, but I think there's a reload in this. And I've already started adding a couple of positions for November. So this is MP. This is a rare earth stock. They recently got, let's say, well connected to the government. Another stock that you can look at is USAR. And that's a very similar kind of companion stock to this one, which also is just going nuts today. But the reason that I want to play this one out until November is because of this pattern, right? So here on MP, you kind of launch into the sky. Maybe this was when the government got involved. It has this pretty good pullback into a rising green cloud. and it holds strongly, right? You can see that it basically stays at the very tip top of the cloud. There it hits the top of the cloud as well. And on a 2-day chart, which is where I have a squeeze, it's a slingshot squeeze, meaning that the squeeze went negative and is now trying to round out to the upside, which is very bullish. And then you also have bull slingshot down here on the high-low pro. So to me, this means that this is as explosive as a setup gets. It also has high short interest. So could this be kind of a inverse head and shoulders? Is it one of these guys? Is it more accurately kind of a double bottom with a higher low with a flat top, right? That one looks a little bit more accurate to me. Is it a cup and handle kind of thing, right? Before it does that, is it a botched Brazilian butt lift? Where one cheek is a little bit smaller than the other, but that's bullish. Whatever you want to call it, I'll probably go with botched BBL. That's a new pattern. Regardless of how you look at it, the pattern is pretty explosive. The high short interest is explosive. The squeeze is explosive, and the bull slingshot on the high-low pro is pretty explosive. So I think there's any number of ways to play this. I think you can play it with calls, call debit spreads, put credit spreads, butterflies, as long as you break the wing and you don't have upside resistance. The way that I'm playing it out on my end, initially I did the $70 calls yesterday in the room for October 31st, which I think is actually a good play as well for anyone holding those in the room. I think those are still fine. I sold those today. I'm going to put the money that I made in those, I'm putting it into the 75, 100, 110 butterflies. And this is going to be for the November 21st series. 75, 100, 110. 25 on one end, 10 on the other. No upside risk. I'm getting in at 5 on these, and I'm looking to just hold them and see what it can do into that expiration based on the signal that I see. So, of course, try to get it at a better price. It's up a lot. I think you should be able to get it, probably closer to 70. Ideally, not much lower than that. But this is definitely one to keep an eye on going forward. So, we'll check on this one once I return, as well as the VIX signal. Everything looks bullish, but be mindful of the fact that euphoria can often be worse than fear. So if you find yourself feeling euphoric because the market's just been up every day, of course, make risk adjustments. Always focus on risk first. And I will catch up with you guys when I see you next time. So drop us a like, drop us a comment. Again, it does help us. Tell us your pet's name, favorite color, favorite drink. It doesn't matter. Let us know what you're trading. If you have any questions, I'll answer them from my personal account. So drop them down in the comments as well. And I'll see you guys